Pope Francis was giving a speech to the head of a bunch of different anti-drug agencies, and he decided to make a fool of himself. Now, this was predictable. Of course, he's probably going to say these things in front of anti-drug agencies to begin with, but he morphed into Dick Cheney on the issue of drugs, which is quite sad because in so many ways he's been more progressive than previous popes. So let's break down some of his comments. He said, quote, "The problem of drug use is not solved with drugs." Okay, I'm not even sure I know exactly what that means, but it quite literally is in many cases. So, for example, there's a pill that you can take that will make you stop drinking, and the reason it does that is because you become violently sick if you have a drink while you take this pill. I know because somebody I know actually takes it. So in that case, it's literally true that a drug stops you from taking the worst drug, which in this case would be alcohol. But there's also, I think methadone makes you stop taking opiates. And there's many examples of this. You take drugs to get off of other drugs. When somebody, another thing, when somebody is drinking too much alcohol and they're a legit alcoholic, a lot of the times they're prescribed, anti-anxiety medication, benzos as they're called. And that allows them to wean off of the alcohol because it kind of affects the same centers of the brain if you take the benzos, if you take the pills. So in many cases, it's true that you solve the problem of drug use with more drugs. He says, quote, "Drug addiction is an evil, and with evil, there can be no yielding or compromise." Damn, man. No yielding, no compromise at all? Okay, look. Drug addiction is evil, sure, but not drug use. There's nothing wrong with drug use at all, and there's definitely a difference between drug addiction and drug use. I mean, most people that take drugs are moderate drug users. They're not addicted. Again, most people that use drugs are moderate users and they're not addicted. They hold down jobs, they take care of their families, they pay their taxes, they don't break any laws or any other laws. But they engage in some substances every once in a while. And look, that may be anecdotal on my part, but if it were true that the majority of people that take drugs, are addicted, society would look much different, There would be way more people acting a fool 24/7 because they're addicted to whatever the drug is, whether it's cocaine or whether it's heroin or marijuana or these different pills or whatever. He says, quote, "Attempts, however limited, to legalize so-called recreational drugs are not only highly questionable from a legislative standpoint, but they fail to produce the desired effects." Okay. That's also not true because drug prohibition causes all the actual problems with drugs. So, for example, it's drug prohibition that leads to violent crime. Because, of course, when drugs are illegal, who ends up selling the drugs in the black market? The mafia does, like that's what happened with alcohol when it was banned in the U.S., or the cartels sell cocaine and marijuana because cocaine and marijuana, largely through most of the U.S., they're illegal. So that's the problem. The problem is prohibition. I mean, look, same thing with prostitution, by the way. When you look at where is prostitution the most dangerous, where there are pimps who abuse girls and there's STDs being transferred, it's on the black market. Wherever it's illegal, prostitution is dangerous. And, because it's not regulated. It's not out in the open. But when you legalize these things, you can tax it and regulate it and make sure it's safe, and you can have legitimate businesses selling the product as opposed to having it sold by criminals. So, again, he gets it wrong. And finally, he says, quote, "I would reaffirm what I have stated on another occasion. No to every type of drug use. It is as simple as that." Is it really? Okay, that is one of the most ridiculous, over-the-top, black and white statements I've ever heard. As if there's no shades of gray in the world that we live in, as if it's really that simple. So do you actually believe that? Let's take him at his word. Let's take him at his word literally. So when he says, "I'm no to every type of drug," it's as simple as that. So should we ban coffee? Is that what we should do? Should we ban Red Bull? Should we ban alcohol? That's one of the worst drugs according to the studies. Should we ban Monster Energy? Or how about Tylenol with codeine in it? Should we ban Xanax and all type of anti-anxiety medication that has made so many people function as opposed to sitting in their house all nervous about everything that's going on around them? I mean, it's just a profoundly silly idea that, we can have a drug-free society. We wouldn't even want a drug-free society. Do you have any idea how much more productive somebody is either on coffee or Adderall or even cocaine compared to if they're sober? It is amazing how much more productive people are when they're on some sort of upper. You can't do that. You can't just broadly say that all drugs are bad and that it's always a problem when people use drugs. In fact, I take the opposite position. Again, I think with most people can recreationally use drugs, and it's totally fine. You can't let a small minority percentage of the population that maybe can't handle this, you can't punish everybody else because of one tiny group of people that are fucking lunatics, And especially on the issue of drugs, to me, that's clearer than ever. I mean, there's so many drunk driving accidents every year, but that never sparks a conversation today where we say, maybe we should ban alcohol and throw all the producers of Corona and Budweiser and tequila and vodka in jail.